Okay. All right. So everyone, this is Abhishek Tiwari, and today we'll be discussing about how to create a MIS reporting dashboard with multiple factors like on multi-level tracking system and with the data range filter as well. Okay. So first of all, let's get into to our sheet. There will be four sheets which will be mainly used in for this purpose. First of all, we will be creating a detailed ad tracking sheet for data inputs, like where we'll be tracking data as per inputs. We will be doing that manual data entry here. After that, we are creating two sheets for dashboard purpose where we can have dashboard creation on our requirement either on weekly and monthly basis. So for my requirement, I have created two for weekly and like one for weekly and one for monthly. Okay. And then there is another sheet. This is a supporting sheet which will be required just to create these dashboards and mapping data. This is unique detailed data set and entries. Like suppose, okay, so that person will keep mapped only once. Okay, we don't like sometime like we will do some kind of mistakes in their name and all, so we don't want that thing to be repeated there. So what we do, we just track it unique database. Okay, so this is for that mapping. So let's go straight to our details checking how we are doing that. Okay, so first of all, there will be like columns which you create to input your data. Q till T column. From first till T, I have created this sheet where like I'm putting data manually. In between this, like there will be some column which are formulated, like automated. Suppose like here, this is a formula based column that FB spent, and then I'm adding 18% GST in this to get total spent. Okay. Similarly, if we talk about what kind of CPL formula is also formulated, this is basically division based. So you can just check your requirement that what kind of data you need to put there, and based on that you can use the formula. Okay, and the rest of the things like OB to LPV, few things will be here which will be other formulated. Okay, so these are just requirement based formula. We will be focusing on what the kind of like a template we need to follow to create this. Okay, let's talk about from rows from first till sixth. That what does it convey? So it basically for me, like for these particular things, we have some matrices which are to be defined and which are to be met. So in that particular criteria, like for me, CPS would be like ideal 50 rupees. If it's 50 rupees, then it's fine, and then CTR accordingly. So you can define like percentage here or matrices here which you need to track that what should be the ideal, and then on a particular date. Now this thing tells us that we are creating drop down here that for particular date for particular person or particular filters which I'm using here, what kind of result I have achieved. This is the result which I have achieved. Suppose like if I change this thing, then for first particular ad set, for second it has automatically updated the data. So now I know that for particular date, for particular filters like HPM campaign, then HPM first campaign, then ad set first and second ad content, my CPL was 289, which was supposed to be 50 rupees. So it means that on particular date there was some issue in the funnel. Okay, so that's how we do tracking. This is for individual date. Okay, this detailed ad tracking is for daily data tracking, and here we are talking about for a particular date and particular filters. So this is what it is, and what kind of formula is being used here. So it's index formula. Okay, if you can click on this, then basically it has indexed based upon the values here. Like overall mapping is done. That first of all, I'm defining that this should check this E2 column should check from this particular A series column. Okay, and then after that, I must have defined if I'm checking about F, then it should match data from B column. Then if I'm checking about campaign, it means that E4, then it should particularly check about C column. Okay, so that's how we have defined each and everything. That once these criteria are matched, then it should find value from particular, like if I'm checking about CPL, then it should extract data from L column. Okay, so that's how it's done for indexing. Indexing basically you define that particular these things should match from which rows, and then what you need to find out. Okay, so that's how indexing is being done. Now let's talk about rest of the things that what kind of formula is what are the formula are used here. So this was about indexing formula being used for particular day criteria. Okay, now we are putting entry here on daily basis. That's a manual data entry part which can be done by any admin team person, or suppose any person which you want to hand over. Okay, so you're putting data here on daily basis. Now there will be some other things which will be required in order to create this. Like if you want to create only weekly analysis dashboard, then you won't need month column. Okay, but if you want to create like week and month both, then there will be like extra efforts you need to put. Suppose like I have done here for week and month both. Here is week batch, and then there is another like month batch. Okay, so in particular sheet I'm tracking both. So what I have done here, that I have put some formula that daily data is already put here. Okay, on daily basis we are putting like date and all that, on which data I'm updating this data, and this particular date column is being like its format has been defined that it's a date. Okay, if you go here and then if you check the number, then you will have to define that it's a date formula, date format. Okay, so by that way I'll be putting a formula in month column that it should define date. Based on the date it should automatically fetch that which month date is defined here. Okay, so if we check about our date, then it has been, okay, let me just see. Okay, so this is the formula I have used overall in this whole string where we are like using data to be auto populated for filters and all. So we'll be using array formula. Okay, and now let me just show you that what kind of array formula it look like. So basically, what is the difference between array formula and a normal, like you could have done it using month formula as well. That there are formulas which can define month from a particular date. So what is the difference here? In array formula, in normal formulas, you will have to use drag and drop. Like suppose if I'm putting a formula here, and then I'll have to drag it till the bottom of the page, like from wherever, like till when column I want to like drag that formula, use that formula. But in array formula, what you need to do, you just define once its range that it should start from A8 till A. And then now like you just put the formula that it should check from particular date, and I want to get a month name only. So what it will be doing now, that it will overall define data for whole month. Like it won't, you won't have to drag and drop, just put formula in first column and you will get it in rest of the columns automatically. Okay, now there is no formula in the bottom of the page, only top columns, like top columns, these columns have only that array formula, rest all are done automatically because we have used array. And there is one hindrance in using array formula, that if you use array formula in first column and if you put any of the manual data entry here. Okay, many like manual data entry, when you say that you can put any formula which is not array, or you manually type 5 or 6 here, so it will disrupt the error formula, and error formula will not get executed. It will clearly show here an error which you won't be able to identify. You just need to check that which column you have entered manual data, and based on that you need to just delete that column, clear that column, and it will automatically populate the data. Okay, so here we are like doing this error formula for month. Then funnel, these things are correlated. Now there is a relation between these formula. Like if you check this formula in like month and week, these are independent formulas which you can use in array format. But for formula like for these columns we are using filters, because these are the filters now, that we will be doing data filtration based on like funnel, campaign, ad set, and ad video. So there will be a correlation between sheets. So now it is saying that we are trying to like formulate this. We are trying to filter it out with the monthly dashboard sheet, monthly master dashboard sheet, which is this sheet. Okay, so we will be checking that if our data, which we have mentioned here, that in these two things, if our data is matching, okay, if our data is matching, then it should print true, and if data is not matching, then it should print false. Okay, so that's how we have done it. Similarly for campaign, now we are doing for month, because we have defined here month, so till here it will be month only. So we will be relating all these formulas, array formulas, with monthly sheets only. Okay, so once we do that, we will be talking about like now weekly days, weekly data. Okay, so you won't have to like do define this 4 to 5 matrices. You can do with only one matrix or two matrix or three matrix, whatever like you want to track. Okay, or whatever like you want to filter out. So basically these are filter, these are not tracking, but these are filtration of the data, that on which level I want to filter out data. And now we will be talking about weeks. So if we check about these formulas, then they will be related to weekly master dashboard, as I told you, that this will be related to weekly master dashboard. And particularly in this, that they must have defined that from where they need to match. So it's talking about G1. Okay, and then G1, right? So in this, if we talk about G1 column, then G1 is this one. So it means that it was related to funnel. So that formula which I was showing you, it was related to funnel only, right? That's why there was a filter related to G1. So now let's talk about, like, we have understand the structure of this sheet, that what needs to be done here. Okay. You can like, there are independent matrices in array formula which are month and week, depending upon how you want to track, on which interval you want to track. Then there are some related data set that which are correlated to some other sheets, particularly to some particular columns, and these are filters for them, that on which level you want to filter out data in particular week or in particular month. So that's the first structure of the sheet, details at tracking. Now let's talk about these things. After this sheet, we'll be talking about this sheet, like detail adds data set, unique detail data set, and after that we'll be talking about dashboard. So this sheet is required for what purpose? Suppose, like, I'm doing this thing here. Okay, like all these things are there, and I want to define these things. So there can be two ways. First of all, let's understand like what kind of details, what kind of drop down is this. So when you try to insert a data set, when you try to insert a drop down arena, click on drop down, then you'll get two options here. Particularly, these are two options: drop down and then drop down from a range. Drop down means to say you'll be clearly defining manually that what kind of column I want to add, and what kind of, like, suppose like I want to add any other thing here. Okay, so I'll be creating that manually. But in this thing, I don't want to create manual things. I want it to auto populate and give me options to create dashboards. So what I have done, that here I have done this thing manually, that all these things related to like HPM and everything, I can increase it. Whatever campaign I'll be introducing, I'll add it here manually. Okay. But once I introduce a data set here manually, like suppose I'm introducing one here, that test. Okay. So if I introduce test here, what it will do, it will clearly create a new data set here, apply to all. It will create a data, like funnel new here. And similarly, once I update any kind of data, like suppose I'm creating a dummy data here. Okay, let's go to the bottom of this page. So once we go to the bottom of this page, I'll be using like that thing, test. Okay. And suppose I'm putting data like day here as 6 Jan only, 6 June. Okay. Now what will happen, that in unique detailed data at set, will automatically get test here. Here is the funnel. Now test column is there. Okay. And based on this, my weekly and monthly dashboard will automatically get me the option of test. Now I don't need to create, like, if I do it manually, then I have to do things manually on each and every sheet. But just because I have linked this sheet to this sheet, like unique sheet to detailed sheet, and then like my mapping in weekly and monthly dashboard are done as per unique detail like data set. So I don't need to like do manual each and every time, like wherever like I introduce a new data ad set. Okay, so it will automatically populate for me. So now after this, what we'll be doing, so you must have get a clarity like what kind of things we have done and why this sheet is required. It just uh, reduce repetition of the data. Okay, you won't have to do manual efforts, and it will also sort things for you, that you will come to know that how many what are the maximum extent, maximum attempt I have done for one thing or like two things. Suppose like in a video, I particularly know that I have gone till extent of 12th ad video introducing in a particular campaign. Okay, similarly, I know that how many ADHD fund campaign I have introduced till now, how many HPM ads ad campaign I have introduced till now, how many funnels, unique funnels I have introduced till now in my campaigns, and till how many months like I have been running campaign. So this is for that clarity, that what is kind of unique data I have in my database. Okay. Now, so once this is clear, let's talk about like dashboards. What kind of dashboards we do have? So there are two kind of things on this particular sheet. First one is about your numbers, that what kind of numbers you do have, these particular numbers which we have mentioned here. Okay, and then we have dashboard based on these numbers. These dashboards are completely linked to this data set only. Okay, there could have been a like way where we are like directly linking this data to like this detail ad tracking sheet, but that will be messy, because once you keep adding data, there is no way to like filter out. Then you will be like using pivot table and all to sort this out, but that will only create mess, that you will have to use slicer and everything. So that create a kind of mesh. Now this is sorted. So first of all, let's talk about like this column, that what kind of like filter we have done. Okay, so in this particular thing, first of all, we have defined timeline. And in this particular like weekly dashboard, first of all, we are checking weekly master dashboard. So we are like defining data like week on weekly basis. And from where it will be taking data, let me just show you. If you click on this, click on its data set, then it will be showing you that what kind of source it is. I have selected that it should be from Patna. derived from a range, and in range we have mentioned detail at tracking seat, and particularly A B, column number AB starting from 8th row. Okay, so let's check that which column is this AB. So it was the column where we have put that array formula related to week. So this was the column which I have told you now that there should be independent column which are like not related to anything. So this was the column AB and 8, starting from 8 and AB column. So this is what we have defined till the bottom of the page. Okay, and if I'm introducing any more like columns in the page, like in the bottom of it, I'll add 1,000 more rows or 1,000 more columns, then I'll just shift this number. It will automatically fetch. Okay, and now it's automatically populating each and everything, like whatever data will be here, it will automatically calculate and give me the data there. Okay, so we'll be back here, and now as we can see that it has given us the whole date range. So if I select 13th November and suppose like I'm selecting that 7th June, so what it will do, it will just create that, it will just fetch all the data there. Okay. Now, this was about date range, that what kind of date range we want to select. Now we will talk about filter, that in particular date range, what kind of filter we want. So I had shown you that I was tracking data, like I was filtering data on 4 levels. First of all, I was tracking that which funnel I have built, then which campaigns I have particularly used in those funnels, then how many ad sets are there in particular campaign, then how many ad content are in those particular campaigns. Okay, in those particular like ad sets. So like first of all, I was talking about ADSD campaign, ADSD funnel. So irrespective of how many funnels I have used, this is the spend. Okay, that in particular week, when I was talking about 18th Jan, then this was the spend done, and this was the total revenue done on FB, how many leads were generated. So this is the kind of like database. So now if I talk about particularly first campaign of ADHD there, then again it gives me this data. Data is automatically populating. Okay, and if we talk about that, from where are we getting this data set? Okay, so just click on this and you will get to know unique ID, a unique detailed data set, because these things are repetitive. Okay, and we don't want to like any kind of typo error, have any kind of typo error. Suppose like if I'm using ADHD and there is some kind of space and all, so that will like just eliminate my uniqueness, because that also becomes unique. Even if it's the same data, then it also becomes unique because of some kind of like even if I'm using like capital S or capital T. So just to avoid that, we are like using unique detailed data set. So I mapped this for particularly like C2 to C1002. Okay. So if we go to C2 column in unique details data set, then it should talk about only campaigns. It should have values related to campaign. So here it is. In column C, we have only campaigns values here. Okay. So that's how we have done mapping for all like 4 kind of filters we are doing. So once you do the filter, so it will create data here. Okay, you keep like changing the filters and you will keep getting data further like on more detailed way, whatever you want to track. Okay, now let's talk about like what kind of columns these are. So these particularly columns are created, these one are created just to check that which kind of things we are using in filters. Right now it's showing me that the range which I have selected, there are particularly 23 weeks for which data is being presented to me. Now if we check that is it true, then let's drop down, and if we can use the count, then it's showing that it's 23 only. So it means that 23 weeks data we are analyzing. Then if we talk about funnel, like suppose if I've done this thing, okay, and now I'm not able to see that what kind of funnels are being used there. Okay, I'm just looking at these number and I'm not sure like what kind of filters I have used. So I'll just check here that what kind of funnel I'm checking. This data is related to ADHD funnel, then campaign I have used is first, then ad set I have filtered is first, and ad content still I have not filtered that all ad content are included in this observation right now. And if I do that, I want to particularly observe for first ad content only. So now it will further classify data for me. Okay, so that's how we do use filter. Now based upon these filters, like based upon these filters, these dashboards are being created. So what we have done here, I'll show you only one dashboard. Okay. So if you click on this and go to like setup, then you'll get this mapping. That from where it should start picking up data. It should start picking up data from A11 till A29. A11, why A11? Because that will show us week count. So basically there are only 2 kind of data here. It's talking about total leads generated. First of all, total leads generated, and then week wise. So means that only 2 columns are of use for this particular dashboard. A column and then your D column should be there because it has the lead database. Okay. So if we talk, then like if we see about this database data range, then it's about A column and then D column, as I told you. Based upon this, whatever values keep changing in these column, this dashboard will keep updating. Okay. So that's how dashboards are created. So most crucial part about this data set is about setting up these dashboards. Okay. And in this particularly, what you have used, I have shown you that this is a linked drop down arrow. Again, this is linked drop down arrow. This was related to like detailed ad tracking sheet, and these were related to unique detailed ad, detailed data set. Okay, and these are about only count. In this particularly, we are counting dates, that how many week data we are analyzing, and in this we are like finding if like we are finding if yeah, it's about if formula. Okay, to find that what kind of condition is put here. This is related to this column, that whatever filter I'll be using here, it will show me that, otherwise it will show me all content. Okay, so if we like just check this formula in detail, then let me just show you what it means. If there is any value defined in G1 column, then it will show that value, otherwise it will print all, that all columns, all formulas are there. Okay. Similarly, in this, if we're talking about like ad campaign, then ad campaign is about G2 column, then it will show that. Okay. G2 cell, not column, it's cell address basically. Okay. So four most important step and crucial step is about populating this data, that how this data is being populated. So let's see that. For that, you don't have to like use VLOOKUP and all. That is very complex. You will be using only a single formula, that is query. This is like about when you say query, so query is basically used to detach or like extract some data set from a particular database. So we have used query formula here. Okay, and we have mapped detailed ad tracking sheet here, because all our database is manually being stored in detailed ad tracking. So we are particularly selecting that what kind of data we are extracting. Okay, we have select that we need sum of f. Select means to say which kind of column it will be selecting. Select AB. AB, why AB? Because AB is the column where we have defined week values. Okay. And in this particular data set, we are filtering data based on weekly dates only, not on particular like individual date wise. We are doing this on weekly grouping. So we have selected AB because in AB we have populated weekly dates. So AB column is being selected, so that will like it will group data as per that only. Okay. Then we have checked that we need sum of F, that if there is being spent overall done for 7 days on a particular week. So in weekly data set, we don't need like the amount at once. We need some spent in that particular week. So we'll be using some formula for that. Okay. And then there will be something where we'll be using average formula. It completely depends upon your like criteria, that what kind of data you want to fetch, and like what kind of values you want to fetch. In my case, I needed average and sum for particular things. Okay, so I have used as per that only. So there are particularly these things which are being tracked. Okay, if we count them, then it should be 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 and 1 9. So based upon these, total values defined here should be 9. 1 2 3 4 5 7 8 9. And then this one is 10. This one is additional, and I have like I have not done this mapping in sheet itself, but I have used array formula here. Okay, if formula here, and it's just about to calculate CPL. Okay, so this one is done additionally. So particularly till here, data is being calculated as per query formula, and then this one is an independent formula which have been put to just calculate CPL. Okay, so let's talk about like in array formula what kind of things are being done. First of all, I define that from where I want to do the grouping. Then I define like what kind of tracking I want to do, what kind of particular columns, and in what nature, like sum, average, and like count only. So that way I have defined. I have defined that where A is not null. A is not null in the sense that in detailed ads tracking, A column should not be blank. A column, if A column is blank, it means that there is no data set for that particular day. Okay. If A is blank, then there is no data set. Okay. So I have particularly defined that it should completely check that A is not blank. So once it's checked that A is not blank, then it will check that AB, which we have defined here. If A is not blank, then it will check in AB column in detail at checking where weekly data are populated, that it should be related to these one. That AB should not be greater than this one. Okay. in B1 and then should not be less than or equal to B2. So it means that whatever data range I select, they should fall in between these things. Okay, it's like if I don't do this correlation, then it won't function as per like weekly filters. So first of all, we have defined that it should particularly check that data range I have selected is between this range from that detailed ad checking, because in that you have particularly like suppose you have data set for 35 weeks and you want to particularly test for only 25 weeks. So how do we define that? We'll be defining that using this hypothesis conditional condition here, that smaller than and greater than. Okay, then we will talk about that AC is true, AD is true, AE is true, and AF is true. AC, AD, AE, and AF, these are again defined in detail at tracking sheet only, where we have like for particularly weekly basis we have defined these values, funnels, and how these will be marked true and false based upon these values. If we select ADHD, then in detail as tracking ADHD whole column where like we have entered data for ADHD will mark as true automatically, because we have used that array formula interrelated. Okay, similarly for this one, so particularly it will check for all conditions true, and then group by AB, that it will group by week batch only. Okay, and then it will label is used for this thing. These like if you create any kind of like pivot table and all, then you have to define like their name, that what kind of heading will be there. Okay, that will be also like auto populated. But if you talk about any manual table to be created, then we had to define header here. But here now you are using query formula, so you don't need to do manual mapping here. Okay, you need to define that only level category itself, that if some f is being printed, then some f relates to which particular thing, and then some are is related to which particular thing, and by that way you will come to like you will define each and every 9 tracking things which you have asked it to track about. Okay, so if you are tracking these all 9 matrices, then I have defined them particularly that each and every 9 thing should be what kind of heading should be there, and based upon those values it will like put this formula here. And suppose now like okay, suppose like now I have defined 9 values to be tracked, and if I create CPL here, then formula will show me error. It won't show me that what kind of error is this, but it will directly show me that there is some kind of error and formula can't be executed. Okay, so that we know because we haven't let the query formula utilize columns as per its requirement. Like it required 30 to 40, like you have asked it to track 30 columns, but you are giving it only 25 columns. So that way it will not execute. Okay, so first of all, like I have given it space to execute till 9, and then after that I have done a manual thing. Okay, if I try to define CPL in between like D and E, then it won't get executed. Okay, so this is how we have done that. Once you label them, that what kind of label is being done, then you just need to like do this. Just execute this formula and it will get executed. So this was about weekly master dashboard. So once you do this setup and all, you can just work upon start like creating your dashboards and everything, and you can start like test its functionality. Now talking about monthly master sheet, so each and everything is same. Okay, nothing changes here. It's just that for this mapping, you will be using like in that thing we have particularly mapped the AB, right? And in this, it is mapped in this column, unique details data set. Okay, you could have done it like from here itself. Like in week batch, we have defined from this column na AB. So you could have defined it from W column as well. That could also have been done. Like there is no change, there is no difference in that. Okay. Now, in monthly dashboards, values here will be changed. And then secondly, the second change which will be there is about this thing, that overall tracking that which you were talking about now, that in that we were grouping by AW. Now we are grouping by W, because the month's column is there. Okay, and now again like we have defined like date range should be filtered as per W only, and then we have defined that in that weekly dashboards we were defining AC is equal to true, AD, AE, and AF is equal to true. Now we are defining X, Y, Z, and AA is equal to true. Why so? Because in detail at tracking for monthly filters, our filters are activated from A to A. After that, week batch starts. Okay, so that's how we
Okay.
have like done the changes in the array formula.
Abhishek, thanks for your time. Actually, we have just last 1 minute, so you can just conclude. And I once again thank you for your time.
All right, sir. That's all. This we have done, just the mapping is being done, and once you do that, both things will keep functionality as per the same. Once dashboard is created, then you can just create these tables again. Okay, that's all. Thank you, everyone.